Slippy roads this morning, Mo.
Concentrate. Glen Affric.
Indeed, we're heading into Glen Affric. How many times have we winter camped in Glen Affric? A lot. We missed last year because of COVID.
I think everybody missed last year because of COVID.
Yeah, sadly. Loch Benavian. Let's see if we can get our wee truck down to the side of the loch, get camped a bit further along. That's a bonny view. Hello there folks, how you doing? We're heading into Glen Affric for a winter camp. We've got the cameras, we're going to take you along. It's reasonably early. We've got a load of work ahead of us to get a nice warm camp set up. Our big teepee tent with us and the wood stove. There's a spot along here further down the glen that we know very well. We're hoping that we're going to be able to get there and set about establishing a camp for a few days. So I think the plan is to roll the camera for a day or two, and then after that I think Mo and I will just have a bit of alone time. So I hope you enjoy this wee adventure, folks. I think that's okay. too tight just now because I've still got the stove to go in. I don't know if you can see that, folks, how much tar is in that. So that would have been the top pipe the last time I used the stove, where the heat is highest around the stove and the lower sections of the pipe, and then the further up the pipe you go it gets cool and you get the tar forming on the inside of the pipe. So top tip, the next time you put your stove up, put the tarry section at the bottom, and that tar will melt and it'll clean the pipe for you. There's another quite tarry one there, so we'll try and get the tarriest ones at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that one there is pretty clean because it must have been quite low down. So this is another tarry one here. So trying to assemble the stove in reverse order to what it was before. A bit of tar in there. You can see there's some tar falling out of these.
That is pretty black.
I know. I'm going to try and get the stove running really hot to try and melt some of that tar. Right. There we go. We have shelter, we have heat. Well, we will have
Well, not yet.
When we get some wood in. I don't think I've ever shown the system that I use for lighting this stove on any of my videos before. It seems a little bit counterintuitive. So normally you would start with some small stuff and then in the bottom, and then you would put bigger and bigger stuff on top until you've got a good roaring fire. But actually what I do is I put the big stuff on the bottom here. I've actually given myself a bit of a hand today because I put some a couple of fire lighters on the bottom, which to be honest not actually essential. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the small stuff on the top. So a couple of logs on the bottom, 2 or 3 logs on the bottom, and then put some nice dry kindling on the top. We're almost lighting the fire from the top down. And I usually pack it up quite well. A couple of wee bits on the top to get it started. So basically I've got these sawdust firelighter things impregnated with wax. Get that going. Pop it right in there. Put a couple of these in. I usually find it's worth loosening these up a little bit just to get started. One over there. That'll light no problem at all now. Leave the door open for a little while. Once it's caught a little bit, close the door and just give it a little bit of venting. Just let it catch first. let it draw. As soon as you close the door, it'll stop any smoke in the tent. It'll draw up the chimney. You'll see smoke coming out the chimney. Can you see it? There we go.
Warm slippers. Winter camping essentials. I'm going to make some food. That's Dave's slippers. That's Dave's side. This is gonna be my side. This is our food supply for the next few days. I have a big bag of veggies. My bread is a bit deformed. I always take brioche loaves because they last longer and they're really nice making either a burger bun or French toast. Got some bananas here, crisps. So this bag is full of snacks, biscuits, drinks, and this is going to be the main event tonight, which is almost a 1 kilo weight, 1 kilo tomahawk. So Dave is having the fire pit set up outside over there, and I can roast my massive tomahawk. I think Dave is quite hungry at the moment, so I'm gonna do a quick sandwich with caramelized onion and cheese. Dave,
Yeah?
how about a sandwich with caramelized onion and cheese?
That sounds amazing.
Do you want to see my tomahawk?
Show me your tomahawk. Well, that is quite a lump of meat. So they need a good fire to cook that. We're cooking that tonight?
Yeah.
On the fire, not
Yeah.
the stove, yeah?
No. I've got the pepper sauce you like.
Okay, brilliant.
And this massive bag of veggies.
Oh, the veggies look better than the steak, if I'm being absolutely honest with you.
What's the matter with you?
Right, I'm going to chop up some firewood.
Okay, I'm gonna get the sandwich and some tea ready.
Okay, good stuff.
Bye.
That's a cold wind, Mo. Aye, you can hear it howling over the tops, the hills in behind you there.
Better get chopping then.
Yeah, this will heat me up. I've just got a small axe. Should be okay. Don't want to break these down too small, Mo. They burn too fast if I do that.
So Dave's sandwich is made. It's a bit squashed. But it's okay. I'm just gonna fry it in the pan with butter so it becomes a hot sandwich. And that's his tea. Oh, it's really warm in here. Your sandwich is ready, Dave.
I'll come in for my sandwich. Is my tea still hot?
I think so.
Let me squeeze in here. I can't believe I've broken another one of these tripods. How many is that? Throw away items. Hey.
There you go. Don't let your sandwich go cold.
Keep my gloves up. Oh, it's nice and warm in here.
Yup.
Quick bite of lunch, folks. Cheers. So we're very familiar with this spot. We've camped here on numerous occasions, and there's a wee cave that we know that's about 1 kilometre or so away from here, and I've used it over the years to stash timber. It's really difficult to find, and in fact it's not really a cave, is it? It's just a whole pile of boulders that have come down. They've probably been deposited there by the action of a glacier at some point. Anyway, it might be 3 big erratics that are tumbled together with a big gap beneath them. You've been up to the cave, yeah? You can't actually get in. You can get sort of head and shoulders in it, and you could curl up in a state of emergency. You could probably sleep in it, but you certainly can't get up and walk about in it. Anyhow, 2 years ago, pre-COVID, I created a timber stash there. So in fact, I usually have a timber stash there pretty much all the time. But that top is not on the fire. I'll fix it in a minute. What was I saying? My timber stash. Anyhow, a couple of years ago we did put some timber in there.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if it's still there or if it's all kind of rotted away.
Yeah.
You've got me worried there, Mo. What are you up to?
Obviously, I can't fix it.
Sorry about that, folks. I was chatting away to you there. I was completely distracted by the stove there. So, after my lunch, I'm going to hike up, see if I can find the cave first of all, see if my memory is good enough, and then I'm going to see if there's any timber in there, which will be useful. I think we've got enough wood with us, but we want to have a fire outside as well, so it's we need double rations.
I'll be very surprised if you find it and it's still usable.
No problem, folks.
It's like excellent filming, like screenplay. We buried this lead 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and then now.
You know, it's over 2 years, because I did it in the late summer in preparation for that autumn trip, for the winter trip.
And that, which never happened.
Which never happened, yeah.
How's the chutney? Is it okay?
That bread is really nice as well.
Brioche.
Brioche, yeah.
I told the folks I always use brioche because it lasts longer and it's nicer as a sandwich and French toast in the morning.
What am I going to do with this? Just my feet under the stove.
You've got your slippers there.
Yeah, I'm alright. I'm just going back out in a minute. need to defrost that tomahawk under the stove?
I think it's more or less there. It will need a long time to cook. Yeah.
Upside down.
That's fine.
Are you chopping up veggies?
As for tonight, I'm having the steak, you're having the veggies.
This backup tripod is useless. I can't get it to sit, the camera to sit straight on the tripod, so it looks like the tent is at an angle.
It's alright.
That's been in there for 2 years, folks. There's a big hole underneath that boulder, like a wee cave. I stashed that about 6 months before COVID started. Probably, I don't know, it was I'm guessing it would probably be about the month of September or something like that, in preparation for the winter time. Anyway, that first COVID winter we didn't get out and about. We were in lockdown, and then last winter we were actually we were all due and packed to come up here, and Christmas was reduced to a single day, so we missed that trip as well. So anyway, it's still bone dry and still there. A wee bit firewood for cooking up Mo's tomahawk steak, so I now need to get it all the way back down through this bracken. The bracken, despite the fact that it's all brown and dead, it's still waist high. Anyhow, we'll manage. We'll shoulder this, get back down to camp. That'll give us a bit of heat tonight. Anybody at home?
Nobody's home. Did you find it?
How you doing in here?
Nice and toasty.
I'm letting all the heat out. Look what I found, Mo. Bone dry.
Told ya.
It's quite hard finding it.
Tomahawk. I'm just putting some salt and pepper, plenty, because it's so thick. I also stabbed the meat with the knife a bit so it gets to cook through. Plenty of salt and pepper. I think Dave is gonna get the stove ready soon. I mean the fire pit ready soon. It's gonna take a while on the fire pit. I'm just gonna put a touch of olive oil on it as well. Ooh, look at my tomahawk. I'm going to fry this on the fire pit with some baked potatoes, some garlic mayo, and some veggies with the pepper sauce.
This is eucalyptus wood. I don't know how well you can see that. I cut a eucalyptus tree down about, oh I don't know, it's a long time ago now. Might be nearly 10 years ago. It was a big tree. And I bucked it all up and split it all. And I split a lot of it into these tiny little chunks. This is actually not eucalyptus, this is a conifer. I took a whole load of trees down and I kept all the firewood, so I've had 10 years worth of firewood and it's bone dry now. And these little logs, these tiny little, I don't know what you would call them, anyway, these tiny little chunks of wood, they burn quite hot. Despite the fact that they're super dry, they still have a bit of density about them. So. I've got the fire pit set up on these stones, folks. It just raises it up. This is a little circle of birch trees. It's a really bonny spot, and the birch roots are pretty close to the surface, so it just prevents any damage. However, I don't know if the camera is picking it up, but just over there, this bit here, actually in behind that stone there and then creeping out a little bit, somebody's had a fire there, so I guess the birch roots will have been killed by that, but they'll grow back again, especially if I don't add to the problem. It's a grand spot to camp, this. I've been camping here for a good number of years now. There's a wee island just over your shoulder there, which is another spot that Mo and I usually camp, but I need the canoe for that. I didn't bring the canoe this time because I have to be back down the road in a few days' time. I was hoping to make this quite a long trip, but I have my booster jab to get on Sunday, so I need to get back down the road on Saturday night for an early morning appointment on Sunday. Trying to burn through this quite quickly to get some coals. Plenty of air through it. I need to rig up some lights in the teepee, in the tent, so I'll go and do that while this is burning down a bit.
It's really hot in here now. Well, Dave's out playing God knows what. I've made the beds, tidied this place up, and let my big massive sleeping bag puff up. This is my favorite sleeping bag. It even comes with its own socks. I always get cold feet, but I never get cold feet in this sleeping bag. So I named it. It's called the Cloud. Give it a bit more oil. Some more salt and pepper. More pepper actually. That'll do. So while Dave's away, I finished the dinner prep. We have 2 wrapped up potatoes, chopped veggies with courgettes and asparagus, mushrooms, and cabbage. Salt and pepper, garlic mayo, pepper sauce, and it's now 20 to 3, so I think we'll probably start cooking about 3:30ish. I think I'm just going to fry this big cow in the pot and then probably roast it, slow roast it in maybe on the fire in tin foil, so that gets a perfect cook inside.
Oh, I can't believe how hot it is in here, Mo. Take this other camera out the way and pop it over there. I got the other tripod fixed. I'm really pleased about that. I don't know how I managed to jam it up, but I've unjammed it now. So this is a bag of cameras and electrical stuff. Big searchlight, we'll just put that under there in case we need to move after dark. That's my filming lamp, tripod for it anyway. This is what I'm looking for. These are work lights that I've got, folks, but they're absolutely no use for filming because there's a strobe effect. Don't know if the strobe effect, if it's visible just now when there's still some daylight left, but after dark you get a pulsing. Do you think I could put that up there, Mo? Just
On the hook.
it's quite high up, but what do you think? Let me turn it on. It's a wee bit high for me. Oh, and that's right in my eyes. Is that okay?
That's pretty bright.
It's not going to be in your eyes though when we're sitting down here. It's got another setting on it. I can turn it down a bit. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, I'll leave it up there. I've actually got two of them. I'll just leave the other one in the bag. I don't think we'll need both. But I'll need a filming lamp. If we're going to talk to the folks after dark. And that's the filming lamp, and that's the battery. Oh, that's quite a bright light for filming, folks. If you watched the last video, the canoe trip, canoeing across Rannoch Moor with John, you'll notice the first night that when we were sitting around camp it was quite bright because I had these filming lamps. I had a couple of them set up in the background. The second night we were camping, it was just a little bit too wet for the filming lamps, so we were sitting there in the dark. Although it only seems like the dark on the camera because of the light of the fire, and we had our head torches and stuff like that, we could actually see quite well. We could see to prepare and eat our dinner, but it wasn't so great for the filming, so these things are better. I'm showing you, I don't know if you can see it because it is actually quite dark in here now. Can I just put that on the table, Mo? Okay. Right, I am going to go back and check the fire.
I'm ready for my steak.
Well, you'll have to cook it first unless you're going to chomp on it raw. I'll put the filming gear over there.
I'm gonna move on.
The camera is pointing away up here. Can you see me, folks? I'm not sure that you can. I've got your sympathy. Getting hassled here to get a fire going. Somebody's lying in their sleeping bag there. lying
No.
on the sleeping bag. I've got to say, folks, it's probably about 30 degrees in here.
No, it's not.
Can't see you for your book, Mo. Still can't see you. It's actually quite dark in here now. Right, I'm going out. I'm going to get that fire sorted out, get some coals on the go.
Time.
Are you ready to put your steak on, Mo?
Yep.
Let me put the light on for that.
Quickly.
There you are. Watch yourself.
This bone a bit big.
The bone's a bit big. Just to set the record straight on this, folks, although this might be quite interesting YouTube footage, if you're into food, that is, we're not doing this for the video. We're really happy to share it with you, but Mo actually likes to cook up tomahawk steak every now and again, so quite often we do it at Christmas, and we're planning on spending Christmas here, but we decided against it because we're a little bit concerned that there might be another lockdown.
We've been having tomahawks since before you started YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. Been doing this long before I started the channel, but it's lovely to share it with the folks.
I'm just trying to seal this steak as best as I can because there's a layer of fat around the tomahawk. It's really nice when it's rendered down.
Well, it smells absolutely amazing.
At some point I have to cut it off because that bit is not getting seared. Oh, you need to do a close up. That's nice.
Okay, we'll show the folks. So what are you doing now, Mo? You're taking it off the bone?
Yeah, because it's too big for the pot, a bit of it is not being cooked properly, so I'm just gonna take it off the bone.
You're going to roast the bone on the grill later?
Yeah, of course.
A pity Shep's not here. Shep would enjoy the bone.
Oh, that is. I'm gonna. What do you mean, Chef? I'm gonna eat it.
Just pop it on that rock, it'll be okay.
It's probably here.
It'll not burn there.
That's what I'll do. Give me that tweezer thingy. What do you call them? Tongs.
Tongs.
Thank you. You can have the nice part, but I'm going to be slicing some meat off very soon.
That's quite oily. You got a good layer of oil on my knife. That oil will be good for my gloves, Mo. I'm going to put a bit more on actually.
That's yourself. Ooh. Super tender.
Is it? I see you've reduced the size a bit. You've taken off the bits around the edge, the fatty bits.
That's my favorite bit.
Is it time to pour the veggies in?
Yeah.
I'll come round this side out of the smoke. I'll just put them all in.
Yep.
And the folks can't see what I'm doing.
Babe.
What's that? I'm busy with the camera. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
How tender is it?
Yeah.
Can I show the folks?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's so juicy. It's crispy on the outside and really juicy and tender inside.
You having fun there, Mo? You see it started to snow?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit. Too late. I think we'll be okay to sit. You want to sit by the fire and eat this rather than in the tent?
Yeah, we could do either.
Well, if the snow doesn't come on, let's sit by the fire.
The veggies need a wee bit more, so. And then, when the veggies sort of done, we'll put the pepper salt in it.
Ah, right.
This is so good! Tomahawk dance!
Okay, Mo, we have a delicate operation to perform here.
What? Oh,
I want to put the potatoes on.
Uh-huh.
Now this is going to be pretty hot.
Yeah.
So, see if I can get it off quickly. Yep, that's quite hot. Where are the potatoes?
Not bad. This is so good! Did I mention it's so good? Are you gonna put them in the fire? Yeah?
Yeah, I just put them in the fire.
Be careful.
I better turn them at some point. Can I put this back on?
Oh. I'll plate in that thing.
Right.
So, I'll just leave it.
Do we need to? That's a raw meat in it though. You need to heat it for a wee while.
Okay, keep it, yeah?
Yeah.
I'll just put it on the fire then.
And then when you're ready to put it on the fire.
I'm ready.
You sure?
Yeah. Let's take that off because that's quite a lot of it done. So now I'm going to take out things that's ready and transfer it on there.
Well, just wait till this has had a good heat because
Yeah.
it's had raw meat in it.
Yeah.
It's sizzling.
Good.
I'll have that wooden spoon. I'll just stir this sauce that's around a bit. Okay. You can.
There's an open now.
You want to plate it down there?
Yeah.
Do you want me to get a flat stone or just put it on there?
Put it on this, right? Or put it on here.
It's going to be very level, will it? Oh, it's that doesn't fall more. When do you put the gravy sauce in? Does that go in there? In there or in there?
Either. I think in there probably be better because it's warming up.
Is it in here?
Like drinking.
Need the knife?
Yeah. Well, I can do this. I don't want it to be too early because I don't want it to burn. Once this is in, the cooking is finished. You can't do any cooking.
You want to cut a bit of your steak and see if it's done enough for you?
Yeah. Give me the knife. Okay. And go. Use a wee bit more for you.
I cut the side bits off and how's the steak, Mo?
Perfect. I need to put the sauce in and take this off of the fire, okay?
Yep. I put the light on in the tent and another log on the stove. It'll be welcoming when we've finished our steak and veggies with, what kind of sauce is that?
Black peppercorn.
You keeping some for tomorrow?
Maybe. Yeah, pour it in. Pour it in.
Oh, this is quite hot. I need to lay it down now.
Yeah, lay it down.
Okay.
Ooh, that's our dinner. Tomahawk steak with veggies and black peppercorn sauce.
Was it a black peppercorn? What else is in the sauce? It's quite creamy.
It's black peppercorn creamy sauce.
Okay, I'm going to turn these potatoes as well.
Oh, careful.
Okay, so I can't build the fire up for
No, that's fine.
sitting here, but do you want me to put your piece of meat roasting away on there?
Yeah.
I just lay it on there?
Yeah.
That way or any way?
Anyway.
Okay, dinner time. I'm starving. Well, Mo, the snow is fairly coming down.
Good. There you are. Have a go.
Cheers, folks. Ginger beer. What have you got there?
Good. Wine in a can.
Wine in a can. Cheers, Mo. Good effort. Very gingery. Some chopsticks for me. Eat with hands, gloves on.
baked potato.
Looks good, Mo. Have we got the remnants of the sauce and the vegetable juice and...
Yeah, I'm just gonna peel this.
Wow.
Oh, it smells good.
Does smell good.
Oh.
Hotter than a hot potato.
I'm gonna put it into that, the rest of the sauce.
We've come inside for our baked potatoes for our last course. Well, it's not our last course because we have dessert yet, and we also have tea and biscuits. But it started to... Is that hot? Started to snow quite heavily out there. Tip that up, Mo, so the folks can see the sauce. You're just going to mash it in. Just leave it in chunks. It'll be quite nice in chunks. What did you do with the chunk of tomahawk that's not been eaten?
I ate it.
No, you didn't. You wrapped it up for tomorrow.
I've wrapped it in tin foil. There's not much left. Do you want to see?
Oh, that's a good chunk of beef. You get a few sandwiches out of that.
Yeah, well, or I'll just eat it.
Okay, you're going to pop that down.
I'm going to put it on the stove to give it a little bit of heat.
Ah, okay. How hot is the stove? It's a wee while since I put a log on.
You probably want to... It should be fine for the potatoes because potatoes themselves are quite hot. But
Yeah.
we might need a log or two for the tea.
Right.
But we're not ready for tea yet.
Okay, we'll let that heat slowly then. Thank you. It's too hot for me. Oh, that's perfect temperature. Cheers, folks. Saying cheers, I don't know if the folks can see me.
They're not missing anything if they don't. Good?
Mm. We have to eat this fast because I can hear the stove beginning to draw.
That's fine. Fried potato is also good.
It's going to be absolutely roasting if we don't finish it soon. We pop that kettle back on. Is there enough space?
I'll pop it on the back.
I've got the pipe kettle, but
The pipe kettle is a bit funny. It's not that good.
I don't even know where it is. So I've got a little kettle, folks, that goes round the stove pipe, and the idea is great, but it's really low capacity and it boils too quickly,
Yeah.
and then it's a fiddle to get it off.
Yeah, and then you always had to keep an eye on it.
Yeah. It's quite a fancy looking thing. So basically that goes on there, like that, and sits on top of the stove. And you can turn it round a little bit to try and reduce the amount of heat, but it just hooks on with that, hooks there.
But it's still very quickly, it's going to be boiling and then keeps boiling.
It boils too fast. Oh, that's the wicks for the paraffin lamps. I didn't bring the paraffin lamps this time. We're doing this winter teepee trip a little bit lightweight. We usually put the trailer on the back of the car and the canoe and various other things, but it didn't actually seem worthwhile packing all the gear up when, so normally we'd come up here for a week or more, but we have to go back down the road on Saturday because of the booster jab, which I think I mentioned it before. So this is getting a little bit hot here now.
Okay.
Might need to pop it on the table. Tea time. Oh, that stove is hot. Is this all for me, or have you got a cup of tea on the go?
I'll finish mine.
Do you want more? Sure.
No, thank you.
There's loads in there.
That's alright, no, thank you.
Pop it under there. It'll stay warm under the stove. What are you reading, Mo?
Just a novel.
Is it good?
I'm just starting, so I don't know. I'm not getting into it yet.
Is that because I'm interrupting?
Yeah, I would appreciate it if you just zip it.
Well, before you get into your book, we should talk about the house. We've been asked to...
No, you've been asked.
No, we've been asked.
No, I was asking on their behalf. So I threw you under the bus.
I've been asked, well, we've been asked, to provide customer feedback on the house. It seems that we're quite satisfied with the house. That's actually true. I am really satisfied with it. But we need to think of something pithy to say, because we'll probably be featured in the magazine. There'll be photographs and everything. There might even be a link to my videos.
Oh God. Oh gosh.
So what can we say?
I threw you under the bus, so you have to think about it. To provide a happy buyer story.
Happy buyer story, is that what it is? I would say a house is like a dog.
Well, it's not just for Christmas.
Exactly.
Oh.
Do you think they'll run with that?
Try again.
A house is more than the sum of its parts.
How? We're lucky we get all the parts.
Well,
It can't be more than its parts.
when we get all the parts, it'll be more than the sum of these parts. We're going down the wrong road there.
I don't think.
Ideas on a postcard.
Let your creative juices flow. Keep going.
Yeah, I've got thinker's block.
Thinker's block. It's just your normal state.
The thinking is not joined up. It's not leading me anywhere.
It's not your specialty.
No, it isn't my specialty. Doing is usually better than thinking.
What, doing without thinking? That sounds a bit reckless.
Yeah, reckless. That's a word for it. All right. Anyway, what am I?
Happy buyer.
I'm a happy buyer, apparently. Ecstatic, in fact. Over the moon. Oh well. Is there anything else to talk about while my tea's cooling down?
Nobody's here anymore.
There's
Everybody turned off.
no, they're still here. They're still in rapture, waiting for the next pearls of wisdom from Dave Outdoors Scotland.
I hope it's rapture, not rupture.
Can I have another decaf tea bag, please?
You want to catch? With the cup. That's a new one. Do you want me to throw it in between the two poles?
Yeah. Oh, teamwork, teamwork. Boots are all muddy. Morning folks, how you doing? It's quite wild in the night, wasn't it, Mo? It started off snowing and then it changed to sleet, and then as the night progressed it turned to rain. It was absolutely hammering down for a couple of hours. But we were warm and toasty in here, no problem at all. I've been out and had a bit of a hike this morning.
I haven't.
Mo's still tucked up in her sleeping bag. What's it going to take to get you out of there this morning?
No less than £1 million.
£1 million. Okay. So I've also emptied the stove, and then I realised I probably should have shown you how I do that when it's all coupled up like this. Well, the setup that we've got, as it happens, these little chairs that I've got is just the perfect size. If I just put it alongside the stove, and I lift the stove pipe up like that, pop that there, then I can take the stove away and empty out the ash. The stove was stone cold this morning. Usually there's a bit of residual heat in it, but we went off to bed reasonably early last night, so let me put that back on there, get it lined up. That's it. You make sure that these pieces are all properly aligned, otherwise you get smoke coming out. So that's my wee technique for emptying the stove every morning. And you have to empty it every day. If you build up too much ash in it, it reduces the efficiency of it. So, but after we put the stove on, what, lunchtime yesterday? 2 o'clock?
Probably earlier than 2.
Earlier than 2, and I topped it up at about 9:30 before I climbed into my sleeping bag. So yeah, it was most of the day and the evening, and I had a handful of ash out of the bottom, so it's burning quite efficiently. I'm blethering. I'm going to get the stove on the go so we can cook up some breakfast.
If the stove is on, then I might get too hot. I might consider coming out.
There we are. Well, getting the stove on is cheaper than giving you £1 million, so I'll go with the stove. So the same again, I'm going to put the big stuff in the bottom. That's some really big chunky bits in the bottom. So that's the fire loaded up just the way that I did yesterday, the big bits on the bottom and then smaller stuff on the top. I don't know if you can see that. Can I get a torch so you can see in there? So all I need to do now is either put a little bit of really thin kindling on the top and put a cigarette lighter to it, or as I'm going to do this morning, I'm just going to put a fire lighter on the top and then it'll all burn down. So you can see my breath in the camera. It's quite cold this morning. Right, let me get to it. You offering to give me a hand?
No, absolutely not.
The sleeping bag has a set of down boots to wear when it gets super cold. I see you're not wearing the boots this morning, Mo.
Not that cold. Well, I might wear it during the day.
And this is my sleeping bag here. That's a Tundra Pure and Dry, so it's actually it's not a waterproof sleeping bag, but it's definitely water repellent. More or less waterproof. Okay, that's about 3 or 4 minutes. Let's see how the stove is doing. She's away now. What's for breakfast, Mo?
French toast.
French toast. I can see it, but the folks can't. It's hidden behind the stove.
Hear the rain.
Yeah, it's hammering down. Again. is December in Scotland. I wish it was snowing. It was nice having the snow yesterday. I knew it wasn't going to last. I knew the mild weather was coming back. How's it coming along? Oh, looks good. Are you having bacon with yours?
Bacon's in the fridge.
Oh, that means I've got to go out.
No, it's alright. We just have, we've got syrup and bananas in here.
I'll have syrup and bananas. I'll go and get bacon for you. When Mo says bacon's in the fridge, what she means is we hang the foodstuffs that require cooler temperatures from a tree in behind the tent. We've been using the same branch on the same tree for years and years and years, but yesterday afternoon when I went to hang up the cold food, the branch is gone. Somebody's cut it off, or it's blown off. So we've got a new fridge, Mo.
Is it better model?
It's actually a little bit closer. Not too bad out here. There you go, there's your food out the refrigerator. Ah, right. Here we are. Breakfast time. There we go, folks. Get some maple syrup on this.
You're being generous.
That's not that much. What am I going to do with my banana? Have I got a knife? There's that bushcraft knife. That'll do. Oh, thank you. My maple syrup is bubbling. I better take it off.
I can put it up there. Oh, oh.
It's okay. Keep it warm. There we are, folks. French toast with maple syrup and banana. And a big mug of tea. As it say, the Flying Scotsman. Where'd you get that mug, Mo?
I think it's in the train museum somewhere.
Oh, right.
I think it's in York.
You have some in New York?
York?
In York? You said New York.
What do you want?
Some water. Cold water for my tea.
I could caramelize the banana for you. Would probably be better. Fry the banana in syrup. I think you've had enough syrup on there for two.
There we are, folks. Perfect. You finished?
No.
You have some more of this if you want. I've got a lot here.
No, I've got enough. I'm gonna have another cup of coffee.
I'm going to have another cup of tea. You've got a tea bag there.
Don't burn the bottom of the mug. Boil these eggs
Okay.
for tomorrow.
There we are. You want to boil that up again? You just want to pop it under there. I don't have my canoe with me today, folks, but I do have my Packraft. I had it in the back of the car, so I want to go across. I'm not going very far, to be honest. I just want to go across there and check out another camping spot that Mo and I sometimes use. So I want to see what condition it's in. So, got a bit of air in this boat. Go for a wee paddle. Sheltered in there, although you can see a ripple on the water, but further out it's a bit windy out there, but I don't need to go further out today. Quite comfy, the seat and the backrest in this, got a little bit of air in. It's a lovely wee craft. It weighs about 2.5 kilograms, so compared with 20 kilograms of my canoe. I always talk about my canoe, but actually that Old Town canoe that I've got is really a pack boat, so it's quite wide, it's relatively short, and for a canoe it's pretty lightweight. It comes in at about 19 kilos. But no canoe today. I'm going to put the Packraft in the water. I'm going to get across there, have a wee hike around. I think Mo's going to do a little bit of chilling out and then maybe a bit of cooking if I'm lucky as well. So anyway, let me get set up here. I'm not taking much gear with me. Normally I would clip this in with a carabiner, but I didn't dig into the box of boat stuff that I've got. I just Mo and I decided that we were going to travel light because it's such a short trip. So I'll just leave that around there. So this is a 4-piece paddle that I've got. It breaks down into 4 little sections, so I can pop it in my rucksack if I'm using the Packraft when I'm hiking. You'll have seen it before if you've looked at some of the older videos. It's been out and about a few times with me. quite breezy, folks. I don't want my boat to blow away. Normally I would have loads of rope and clips with me, but like I said earlier, we're travelling light, so I don't have a lot of gear for tying this down. I've wrapped the paddle leash around that stump there, and I put some stones in the bottom, so I think we're good to go and explore. So let's go have a wee look. This is a great wee place to bivvy camp, folks. I've camped here on a few occasions. The high water mark is just there, and Loch Benavian is water managed. There's an underground connection between Loch Millardoch and Loch Benavian, so if you ever come here for camping or paddling or wild swimming, be super careful about that, because the water levels go up and down very quickly. So when Mo and I arrived yesterday, the water level was quite low, and today it's I would say medium. The high water mark is just about there, but you can actually camp in behind here. You can actually go up on the wee knolls as well, but it's deep heather, not many animals here to graze anything down. So but this spot, when it's calm, you get a beautiful view down the loch. It can be a little bit windy, and there's a little bit of a fetch on Loch Benavian, so when the waves are rolling up, they can actually break quite high. But up here on this gravelly bank behind, at the right time of the year, it's quite safe, and the breeze keeps the midges away, so it's a glorious spot. But it's been a bit messed up, so I'm obviously not the only person that knows about this area. I can see at least 2 fire pits here, and there's one that looks like it might be a fire pit. I'm hoping it's not a latrine in behind there. So what I might do is I might switch the camera off and spend half an hour and do a bit of tidying up here, because it's a favourite spot. And then we'll paddle back across and see if Mo's got a sandwich on. She was going to make roast beef sandwiches from the leftovers of the tomahawk from yesterday. So let me do a wee bit tidying up. I'll get back to you in a wee while, folks. I'm not going to film any of this, I'm just going to do a wee bit redden up here.
Roast beef sandwiches. This is the downy birch, this little birch tree, so
a lot of Betula pendula, the silver birch here, but there's also the downy birch, Betula pubescens. The shoots are covered in a very fine hair or white down. So I've done a bit of tidying up. We hike along the edge of the water. My boat's just in behind you there, not far away now, so I'm going to hike back to the boat and paddle back across to the wee peninsula, the wee point that Mo and I are camped on. See if there's any offerings for lunch. Quite choppy out on the water, folks. I'm holding the camera with my knees. Not the most comfortable paddling position, to be honest, but it'll give you a wee glimpse of what it's like out on the water today. Just paddling across this way because there's another wee area that I don't actually have to go all the way across. I just want to check out that little point. I sometimes camp there as well, although I haven't camped there for a number of years. I have a Vango Force 10, a Mark V, a big Vango, and I think there might be a video. No, I don't think there is actually. I think it was just a Facebook post. I camped with that tent on that point. Let me see if I can stabilise this boat and show you that point there. You can see the tent just on the right there. Going to the left. I'm going dead ahead because there's a little sandy beach that I can paddle up onto. The shoreline here is pretty rocky and potentially quite damaging to the bottom of the Packraft. This is my wee landing spot here, just to the right of that rock there. I know this bit's relatively safe because I've cleared it of stones over the years so that I can get the canoe in. There we are. Get all the way up here. There we go. Let's go and see if there's some lunch on the go, folks. Lunch is ready. The folks and I were just beginning to wonder that. I'm a wee bit late, sorry about that. I did a wee bit tidying up over there. I'm just going to secure the boat behind the tent, Mo. I'll be in 2 minutes.
sandwich with garlic mayo and caramelized onion.
Can I deconstruct it?
Oh God, no! The folks don't need to see the inside of your sandwich.
Roast beef with, what was it? Mayo,
Garlic mayo and caramelized onions.
garlic mayo and caramelised onions. And what have I got to drink? A cup of tea or?
Drink that.
I have San Pellegrino lemon tea. Organic sparkling beverage with black tea and Italian lemon juice from concentrate. Oh, there we go.
That's very bushcrafty.
Did you not go and find the ingredients out there?
That's not my job, that's your job.
This is not a bushcraft trip by any means. Well, I've got some bannock mix talking about bushcraft.
God, no.
We could make a bannock if we can. If this the weather's nice out there, it's breezy on the water, quite a swell. I was trying to do a bit of filming for the folks when I was coming back, and the boat's going up and down and I'm holding the camera on my knees. There's no camera mounts. Well, that looks nice. Sorry, cheers folks, cheers Mo. Lovely. I'll have a cup of tea in a wee while. I can move over, the stove is down a little bit, but I just loaded it up. Let it burn down a wee bit too far, we've been away. It'll be okay. Give it a minute or two. Right, I'm going in. My roast beef sandwich. I'm out on the water again, folks. I decided to go for a late afternoon paddle. Well, not so late. In terms of daylight, it's quite late. You can see the sun is dipping over the Affric hills. Let me spin you around so you can see. You might get a wee glimpse of Mo on the shore. She's been helping me do a little bit of filming. So that sandy beach there, we're camped a kilometre beyond that. Although I was really just out for a paddle, I did go down the loch and check a wee spot that I know. I didn't climb out the boat. I could see it from the boat. Looks in quite good order. It's not an island, it's just a little rocky promontory that juts out into the loch. But it's quite hard to get to. It's a joint effort tonight, folks. Mo's cooking up a curry on the stove, and I'm going to do some bannock in this pot. I'm just sterilising it. I just gave it a wash out down at the loch side there. We're going to do a wee bannock, and we'll have bannock and vegetable curry tonight.
That's if you succeed.
That's if I succeed. I managed to get most of the pan clean. It might have a hint of tomahawk about the bannock. I'll take that off just now. You got the bannock mix there?
What do you need?
So you've seen me making bannock before on a few of the videos, folks. Quite often what I do is actually just mix it up in there. Just put a bit of water in there, but I'm just going to throw it in this pot tonight. It's just a very small amount. It's the leftover bannock mix that I had from my canoe trip on Rannoch Moor with John. So that's flour, it's self-raising flour with a little bit of powdered milk, quite a lot of powdered milk, and a touch of demerara sugar and some salt, just a pinch of salt. So I'm going to mix this up, add the water slowly. It doesn't matter if you put too much water in if you've got more bannock mix, because you can dry it up a little bit by putting a wee bit more in, or even just a little bit of flour, but we don't have anything, so I've got to be careful that I don't make it too wet. So I'll just add the water slowly. Most bushcrafters will do this with their hands. It makes a devil of a mess of your hands. It's quite difficult to get them clean afterwards, so I usually either mix it in the bag or just do it like this, and you don't want to work it too much. I was chatting away to you folks when I was mixing that up. I'm not sure if I had the right camera angle or not, because I'm filming with a filming lamp which shines in my eyes, so I can't see very well, but that's enough for a small bannock. So pop a wee touch of oil in here. I'm going to cook on that side of the fire where it's a bit cooler. Let's put that there where I don't lose it. Let me just rearrange my fire a little bit. Let's see if I can get it in there. So there we are, folks, it's coming. Oh, there's a little bit chipped off. Wonder if that's going to be too hot to eat, I think. Let me just see if I can fish it out. Put it over here on the cold side. That's very good. Right folks, the bannock has been delivered to the tent. It's time for me to get in as well. I just put that grill over the top of the fire pit, just stop any sparks, although it's pretty wet here just now. I don't think the fire risk is particularly high. Right, in we go. Well Mo, I just got that bannock done just in the nick of time.
Listen to it.
Yeah, and this is not forecast.
Super heavy rain.
Yeah, I have a feeling you need to in that stove up a little bit. Well, that bannock looks nice.
Yeah, put some more.
So what I do folks when I'm feeding this stove, I put in these smaller pieces when I'm cooking. So if we want rapid heat on the stove, and a few little pieces and it will flame up, especially if I give it a little bit of air. And we'll have a lovely hot surface for cooking on. Hot enough? You want me to clear it?
No, it's fine.
Sure.
Cook this veggie until it's half the size.
Oh, it's a wet night. I bet you're glad we're not cold camping tonight. This doesn't matter at all to us. I'll tidy my wood pile a little bit. I'll show the folks. How hot is that?
It's at this.
So this is for our vegetable curry folks. So this is quite hot. I'm going to have to drop it. That is courgette, yellow pepper, mushroom. Am I missing anything? And aubergine. And in this one, and mushroom. I said mushroom, did I not? Two types of mushroom. Excuse me folks. And here we have broccoli and a root vegetable. We've got some carrot there. So the whole thing will go together and it will all be curried up. And we'll warm this bannock up. We'll just leave that up there just now. Something to mop up the curry sauce with. Right. Quite hot. I think I maybe need a cold drink more. Could I have one of these? Have I got a ginger beer for my dinner? Right. I'm going to do that then. I put the grill over the fire, it'll be fine. We'll just let it burn out. I don't think we'll be going back out there for a cup of tea. I said to the folks I might have my cup of tea sitting by the fire, tell them a story, but I don't think it'll be happening tonight. Although there might be a story.
There might be.
Might be. Let's see if we can think of a tale to tell. I'm going to get up in my seat, relax, and have a cold drink because I'm absolutely baking hot in here. That was grand out in the boat today folks. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Because this is a fly-in visit and it takes quite a lot of setting up to put the teepee up in the stove and bring all the wood in and everything. I wasn't really overly keen on bringing a boat with me, but then I thought about it, camping at the lochside and not having a means to go and explore, it would have been quite frustrating, so I decided to throw the Packraft in. So I managed to check out all our old camping spots more. I didn't go to shore on every one. Some of them are actually on the mainland, so to speak. They're not on islands, but they're very difficult to access. There's no tracks there, and if you're carrying any weight at all, the terrain is pretty unforgiving. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's not a hike that you would particularly want to do. You certainly wouldn't look forward to it with a big rucksack on, and a fair chance that you might break a bone as well. So from the water they're relatively accessible. So I checked these ones out further down the loch, and then there's a wee island that Mo and I camp on, which is just in behind us there. Went across and checked that. And then the point across there this morning, or afternoon, it was afternoon, wasn't it? It was after lunch. No, it was this morning I did the first one. And then I came back for my sandwich. So it's been a busy day, folks. I'm losing track of time. So the Packraft is great, but I think I need to feature it in the films a little bit more. I don't film very much of the Packrafting trips because it's quite hard work, but I need to knuckle down and get a cross-country Packrafting trip on the go at some point. Now that I've said that on camera, I'm committed. I'm not sure when it's going to be, but and although I'm going to say this on camera, there won't be a commitment, but Mo and I have done some pretty tough cross-country trips, often in the depth of winter. So Mo and I need to have a wee chat to see if he would be up for a wee cross-country trip, but probably not in midwinter when the days are so short. Although
Do you want me to say no on camera?
No, that multi-day trip where we went in past Stoinig and we were here, there and everywhere, Rannochmoor, and then we went in down past Lochosian and yeah, we went past Loch Treg, Stoinig. We stayed in Stoinig Bothy, and then we went past Meenoch, and we didn't stay in Meenoch Bothy, we camped in a high spot overlooking the river. So you cross a watershed on that route, folks, and then eventually you get through to Steele, if you know where that is, the Glen Nevis Gorge, and follow the gorge down on the track there, and then a long haul down through Glen Nevis to Fort William to catch the train to come all the way back round to pick up our car. So that was a great adventure. So we'll see how the winter unfolds when we get longer days again. We might, but before midges and ticks, we might be able to think about a wee cross-country trip. So a few things in the pipeline, but at this time of the year you just have to go with the weather. That sounds good, Mo, and it smells absolutely amazing.
Begin.
A little bit of bannock, Mo. Careful, it's quite hot.
Nice.
Cool down a little bit.
It's actually quite nice.
Don't sound so surprised. Cheers, folks. Cheers, Mo. That ginger beer is very gingery. Delicious.
My thing.
Had to take off a layer, folks. It's absolutely boiling in here. It's a wild night out there. I was out hiking and cleaning up the camp and so on because we're going to break camp in the morning, and I got focused on my chores and didn't realise quite how wet it was. It was quite damp when I got back in, but I'm dry again now. Nothing stays damp in this tent for very long. Mo's lying in behind you there, reading her book, lying on her cloud. That's what she calls the Arctic sleeping bag that she's using just now. You comfy, Mo?
Uh-huh.
So, I think I'm going to wind the video up here, folks, because we have quite a lot to do in the morning, and as always with a journey down the road in the winter time, it's a lot more fun if I can complete the journey mostly in daylight. So we're going to get up quite early, we'll have a nice breakfast, but I'm not going to film any of that. We will break camp and hike everything back to the car and get it all loaded up, and then start the journey down the road. We'll stop a couple of times on the way down the road. We'll see how we feel. We usually stop and have a wee bit of a walk, stretch the legs, a bit of fresh air. But maybe before I wind the video up, I'll tell you a story. So if you're not interested in the stories, this is a good time to switch off, folks. So this rain, this heavy rain, and when I was out clearing up the camp there, I was walking back along, there's a track that runs underneath the wee escarpment there beneath the trees, and it was already under at least ankle deep in water, so quite difficult going in fact. And this heavy rain, it reminded me of a night that I spent camping in a glacial valley. So let me paint a picture of this for you with words. So at the head of this glacial valley, there was these huge jagged limestone peaks that sat at about 60 degrees in the upper reaches, but the lower reaches had probably cliffs, vertical cliffs of almost 1,000 feet, I would guess, actually maybe even more than that. Just huge walls of limestone striated with gouges that had been created by the ice. So that was way up at the head of the glen, the head of this glacial valley. And as you came down from that, immediately under these cliffs actually there was a beautiful little grassy alp that was very rich in alpine plants, and it was one of my conservation plots where I was monitoring the plants that were there, so I had cause to frequent that area often. And beneath that grassy alp there was just this massive moving moraine of boulders the size of houses and gravel the size of peas. And some areas were almost liquid in consistency. And that great glacial moraine was shifting slowly down towards the wider valley. Beyond that corrie with the big hills, the big mountains, there were two lateral moraines, so almost like two walls, two fences that guarded either side of this valley. The valley was at its widest probably about a mile across, so it wasn't a huge wide valley, but it was several miles, probably about 5 or 6 miles long, maybe even more than that, might have been 10 miles long. It was the best part of a day's hike to get from the terminal moraine, which was at the end. So you've got the big mountains going up there, and then the moraine coming down, then the two lateral moraines where everything had been pushed aside, and then at the end of that big long flat area there was the terminal moraine there, so like a big rectangle. And I had 2 or 3 favourite camping spots in that area. In Chinese it's known as the Ganghe Ba, which means a dry river valley, and it was dry and pretty safe for camping as long as you kept away from the moving moraine, which was up near the head wall, or away from the cliffs and the high ground where the rock and the ice poured over the top, especially after a warm afternoon. So it's all frozen solid during the night time, and in the winter time it's the safest time to go into that area for exploration. But in the summer months, during the day, the heat would build up enough to melt the ice, and then in late afternoon you'd get these big rock falls. So the sound of falling rock was a constant when you were botanizing in that area. But I had a few islands just before the unstable moraine, the moraine that was still moving, just at the edge of that. There was a few islands of vegetation that were raised up, and I used to camp there. And even if you did get some of the ice seracs from the glacier, there's a glacier contained within these high mountains, and there were leaning ice seracs. They could occasionally, you would get a collapse, and usually when that happened there's water and moisture in behind them, and that would all pile out and you'd have this waterfall away up at the Corrie headwall for a while, and of course that water came down and then it wound its way down into that valley, that wide valley, which as I said was about a mile across. And there was no particular channel. There was always water there, it was always underground, but if there was enough of a deluge, or even after super heavy rain, the water would run across the surface. And I never saw it side to side, but I saw, you know, half a mile wide. So if you were unfortunate enough to be camping there in your tent in the wrong spot when that water came, because it just come down very, very suddenly. There was one time I was camping with some colleagues and we lit a fire in the lee of a boulder, and it was hammering wet conditions. We were way up, not far from the Corrie headwall, camping in a fairly dangerous spot, to be honest. And then there was we couldn't see a thing. It was misty, murky. The cloud was down below the level of our boots, and we heard a huge rumble. And then about 20 minutes or half an hour later, the water started pouring around us. We were on a high spot, so our tents, actually I just had a bivvy bag, our bivvies were absolutely fine, but we'd put our fire down in one of the wee gullies just out of the wind, and we just sat and watched as the fire floated away, as this dry channel turned into a 1.5 metre deep raging channel of milky white glacial water, meltwater. So anyway, the tale that I'm telling is I was camped on one of these high spots, and I was setting up camp. I actually had about 20 tents that night. I was there on my own, but I was leading an expedition, and the expedition members were on another part of the mountain in an easier location, actually enjoying a relatively easy night, because throughout that expedition we had been dogged by terrible weather and people were getting a bit wabbit. They were getting a bit fed up with the conditions. So I, as expedition leader, I guess, drew the short straw, and I had the job of going in with the horses laden with all the gear. And I knew that the conditions were very marginal, and I also knew that the conditions were deteriorating, so I picked the campsite very carefully, and the campsite was well scattered. The tents, the 20 or so tents, all positioned on the highest points that I could find, and then I had my tent under a little clump of trees. Actually, I had a really bonny spot. But sometime in the night I heard the most amazing crashing and roaring, and in the morning I kind of just sat tight, and I was out with the torch every now and again looking at the water level, and I could hear water all around me, but I was high and dry. I was absolutely fine. In the morning I got out and I couldn't see a thing. The mist and the murk was down, but I did have a satellite phone, and to get back in touch with base camp and to speak to the others. Before I called in, I hiked up the valley, heading towards the head wall for a wee while. Maybe did a kilometre or so, and I just felt the hairs on the back of my neck standing up, and I didn't feel comfortable at all. A lot of water around. Anyway, I decided that was it. That was enough for me. I didn't know what was going on up in the Corrie, underneath these massive ice seracs and pinnacles of limestone, and I thought there's something possibly catastrophic happened up in that area, and I don't want to be anywhere near it. So I about turned. I got back down into the middle of the valley, completely surrounded by water, and all my tents are all there, sitting high and dry. I phoned the base camp, but they were all on the move. I think they maybe felt a bit guilty about me spending that night way up there on my own, so they were on their way with a load of porters. But I managed to get them before they had parted company, so the porters wouldn't normally go as high as that. They would take them into the bottom of that terminal moraine that I mentioned, and it was a big climb up over that terminal moraine, and then you drop down into this valley called the Glen Affric, the Dry River Valley, as I mentioned. And so I got them before they had parted company with the porters who would normally turn back at the bottom of that terminal moraine. And I said, keep the porters, don't let them go. And I said, if you've got any horses, keep them as well. So the expedition members, there was about, I don't know, about a dozen of them, and they came with about half a dozen horses and about a dozen porters, so it was a big group. And they got up and the conditions were wild, the porters were really unhappy, and I said, well, we need to break camp. While they were marching up to meet me, I managed to get all the tents folded and put away and all the gear put into a big gear pile on one of the islands closest to the edge of the lateral moraine. The horses came up skirting that moraine, picking a route on the higher ground, but still low enough to get a little bit of shelter from the winds. Anyway, everybody came up and we had a bit of lunch. We got all the horses packed up and the porters took the big loads, and we about turned and off we went. Anyhow, it's a long story, I'm going to wind it up shortly. We abandoned the part of the expedition that we had planned for that area, and actually that was the last kind of highlight of that expedition. So shortly thereafter we broke camp altogether, and the expedition members headed off. I stayed on. I didn't actually stay on in that location. I travelled for a bit, but about a month later I was back in that location. So, and it was a glorious day. That was probably into, let me see, I would guess that would be about November or something like that, so maybe December. It was a beautiful, cold, crisp winter's morning with blue sky, wall-to-wall blue sky, not a cloud in sight. I could see the great mass of limestone mountains away at the head of the valley as I was hiking up. Everything was dry, and anyway, it was very familiar. It all gone back to normal again. But as I rounded the last sort of bend and I looked at the moving moraine that had been there, and I had explored that area by that time over a period of at least 20 years, so I was very, very familiar with the area. But I rounded the corner expecting about another couple of kilometres of relatively easy terrain before I met the wall of rock that is slowly being pushed down. But actually when I rounded the corner, the wall of rock was just there. And I thought, my goodness, that's hundreds of thousands of tons of rock. Where did that come from? Anyhow, I walked up to it and I climbed up. It was really cold conditions, so I thought that's relatively safe here. So I hiked over it, and I went a ways away, but then I could see areas where there was ice formed, and I didn't know how deep these pools were. Was it a skim of ice over the top and maybe 10 foot of icy cold water? So I scouted around a bit, took some photographs, and then I abandoned it. But some years later, well, not some years, I think probably 1 year later, I had opportunity to go back again, but this time I was hiking with my buddy Bruce, who is featured in at least one of my videos, in fact in a couple of videos. So Bruce and I hiked way deep into that valley, and we took a GPS reading on an area that we used to camp, and we found the location. But what was interesting was we were almost 100 meters higher in elevation than the previous reading when we had actually camped there. So about 100 meters deep of rock and rubble and ice and all sorts came down and filled that narrow part of the quarry. So really interesting, and of course all the vegetation was completely wiped out, but that presented a new opportunity for me to start monitoring. There was a completely clean slate, a white sheet of paper, almost literally, because the whole area was just white with glacial silt. And so I went back several times, any time that I could get there. So sometimes I would be there 2 or 3 times in a month, sometimes 2 or 3 months would pass before I could go back there and you know, feel safe about doing so. And what I was interested in was the recolonisation of it. I wanted to see what came in first, which pioneer plants grabbed a hold of that glacial silt and started to grow. And I took lots of notes and records and photographs of the different plants that were colonising that catastrophic failure of a big pinnacle, one of the huge pinnacles of rock that sat immediately beneath the glacier had fallen off. So literally half a mountainside had just come down, shattered into millions and millions of pieces, some huge chunks and some tiny little chunks. I was able to kind of monitor what happened after the previous land had been buried by all that virgin material. It was very interesting. I'm not going to tell you all the plants that did come back, but I'm sure that your interest might be piqued by it. And what I can tell you is that a lot of the Arctic willows came back very quickly. So lots of different plants came in, all seeded in from round about. So there's a tale of camping in the rain and maybe dodging a bullet. Had I been camping higher up when that failure had happened and that amount of mineral matter had poured down from on high, well, you would never have been found, put it that way. Well and truly buried. But what a beautiful, beautiful valley, a glacial valley in the mountains of southwest China in Yunnan province, not far from the first bend in the Yangtze River. So the Yangtze River comes down from the Tibetan plateau and then it takes a curve at a place fairly unimaginatively called the first bend, and then it does another couple of wee twists and bends, and then so it flows from the north, the Tibetan plateau in the north, almost due south, and then it does that little couple of bends, and then it completely changes course. The mountain massif that I'm talking about blocks it from journeying further south, and so it goes east, and in fact it goes east for about 1,000 miles or more, all the way to the delta that Shanghai is built on. Shanghai in Chinese means Shanghai means above the sea, and so all the silt that is coming down from the Tibetan plateau and flowing through the Yangtze River is going into the being deposited in that delta where the Yangtze River meets the sea. Anyhow, I'm going to put some tunes on, I'm going to read my book, I'm going to listen to the rain, and I'm going to climb into my sleeping bag. Mo, you're not in your sleeping bag yet, no?
But I'm already asleep after that long story of yours. I'm like...
Did you enjoy that, Mo?
I was asleep half the time. Thanks for putting me to sleep.
Mo knows that area. We've explored that area together, so she knows how beautiful it is, how picturesque it is. I do have photographs, but they're all in 35mm format. I doubt that I'll be able to find any that I can upload into the video to give you a glimpse of that. So I hope my words painted picture enough. If I do find a photograph, I'll put it in, but I think it's unlikely. Anyhow, folks, Mo and I are going to wind the video up here. We thank you as always for your company, your views and thumbs up, and those of you that have subscribed to the channel, it's all very greatly appreciated, so thanks for that, folks. Stay safe, stay tuned, we'll get back to you on the next one. So good night and bye bye for now.
Bye!